Welcome everyone to the Hot Sauce number 196, presented on Friday, April 21st. The Hot Sauce is the longest running news show in the EOS ecosystem and the only place where you can get all the weekly EOS news and updates in less than 25 minutes. My name is Stefan, one of the co-founders of EOS Nation. We're one of the top blog producers on EOS, and I'm excited to be your host for today. Happy to share some fantastic news with everyone, including the $60 million investment from DWF Labs. We're going to be diving into some more details on that deal. We got some nice recaps and impressions and results from the Hong Kong Web3 Festival from Eve earlier this week. Of course, the EOS EVM launched last week. We tested it live on the Hot Sauce. Everything worked flawlessly with the trustless bridge. We're going to be talking more about the EOS EVM today. Of course, we're talking also AI and audits with Sentnl, buying Toads on the EOS EVM, HyphaDAO beta launch, Yield Plus March report, SOV Invaders launch, a GameFi on EOS native, and an Eden Chiefs delegate interview recap. So let's dive right into it. First up on the show, we've got the April EOS BP meeting recap that was just published not too long ago, which actually goes over a lot of the news that we're going to be covering today. So let's take a look at the report. Leap 4.0, release candidate 3, got some updates for that updates for the spring release, the fall release, and then other information on Antelope Leap version 4.0, Antelope IBC updates, and then of course the Hong Kong update, which I would recommend you guys listen to the 20-minute segment on the Fireside from this week. We had Eve on the Fireside talking about Hong Kong, talking about the DWF Labs, and we learned some really interesting information. So in terms of the Hong Kong Web3 Summit, there was, Eve shared some interesting details this week about some of the conversations he had with government agencies, including Invest HK and Cyberport. So these are different organizations. They have campuses with multiple physical buildings in Hong Kong, ready to welcome Web3 developers, creators, and companies. So that was pretty exciting to hear. Really sounds like Hong Kong is open for business for Web3 and is being supported by their governments, which feels a bit different than the feeling I'm having out here in Canada and the US, with the governments cracking down on a lot of crypto companies, the financial rails being restricted, Operation Choke Point, all that stuff. Seems like Hong Kong is taking the opposite approach, which sounds very attractive to me. So it was very cool to hear more about that. Recommend you guys watch the Fireside for the full 20-minute segment on that topic. Here we're getting also news from New World Development Company Limited, another company out there in Hong Kong that is talking with Eve, talking about potential partnerships. Invest HK, like I just mentioned, Cyberport also just mentioned, and then also more information on the agenda. Let's get into the good stuff. On the deal with DWF Labs. So, and a lot of how this deal came about, which basically came about through, of course, meetings at these conferences, which really highlights the importance of having some EOS representatives out there at these conferences to make these critical meetings and critical connections. So that was another 15-minute segment on the Fireside this week. Eve shared more news about that and kind of explained DWF. They're a new fund, they're a new company in the space, they're a market maker, and kind of some of the around more details on that topic. All right, so going back here to the BP meeting recap, they talked, of course, about the launch of the EVM. When this meeting happened, it was actually just the day before the launch. Since then, EOS EVM has been live, and we've got some cool links to share with you guys. So EOS EVM mainnet is live, blog post on the EOS Network Foundation website. You'll see the press release and a couple of links to other important documentation. So an EOS EVM architecture deep dive for those of you who are very technically inclined, and then some important links. The EVM contract account, the RPC endpoints, block explorer link, token bridge, release notes, docs, getting started developer chat. And that's not all. There's also the way to contact the ENF if you're interested in that $20 million fund that was announced a month or two ago for GameFi projects deploying on the EOS EVM. We've been actually talking with some of these projects. They reach out to us. They're like, hey, how can we apply for this funding? Here's your answer. You go to this website and EOS-EVM / get in touch, and then fill out your information. And then hopefully you hear back from the EOS Network Foundation in terms of this funding. Cointelegraph published an article. Binance published an article. So there's a lot of awareness for the EOS EVM in the last week. DeFi Llama added the EVM to their dashboard. The dollar amount is very low right now. It's still very new. We can see a couple of protocols that are being tracked by DeFi Llama. Froggy Finance up millions upon millions of percentage, just because I think this went live in the last 24 hours. And so you can expect to see a lot more names appearing on this list, and this number to go up a lot higher in the coming weeks and months. Token Pocket getting in on the action as well, sharing news of the EVM and sharing some guides. And also, right now, I want to send out an invitation to all the developers out there working on the EOS EVM, deploying code to the EVM. If you have an app, you've deployed something you want to share with the community, reach out to us, please. So here is a form usually used for the EOS Fireside Chat for the community to submit questions, topics, request guests, all that good stuff. We're also adding a section at the bottom of this form, very simple form, for new EOS EVM projects. So if you want to introduce yourself to the community, fill out this project. I'll reach out to you, say hi, try out your code, see what's up, and then we can invite you onto the fireside so you can present, introduce yourself to the community. And I'm happy to highlight some more dApps here on the Hot Sauce. So check out the links in the description below for the link to this form. And yeah, we want to hear about your dApp and we want to showcase your dApp to the community. So reach out to us. One of these dApps actually that I stumbled upon this week are the EOS Toads. And so this is from someone in the community called Ribbit. And actually I met Ribbit a while back, a couple of years ago, when we did our first NFT series launch on EOS, the Dream Big series. Ribbit here was one of the contributors, so it's nice to see him still around in the ecosystem, still doing NFTs on EOS. So we're up to 26 mints. I minted a couple around mint number 11 and 12. And so, yeah, very cool, very easily connect your account, mint. Gas fees negligible, of course, and the price here per mint is 10 EOS. So cool to see already some fun little projects being deployed on the EVM. All right, what else do we have here? Right, so not only was the EOS EVM launched last week, but the audit had to be completed before that. And on the fireside, we had Charles, the founder of Sentnl, come on the fireside, chat with us for about 20 minutes about Sentnl, his auditing company, what they've been up to lately, and in specific, the EOS audit that they perform. So we learned about fuzzing, how these audit companies kind of throw all sorts of things at these EVMs to see if they can identify errors, if something can break, something can happen that's not supposed to happen. And then we're very surprised to find out that everything worked flawlessly, no errors found, nothing like that. And they were kind of scratching their heads about it because every other EVM they've audited, and they've done quite a few apparently, they've always found some bug, error, flaw, something in the code that they can report back and have the team fix. But in this case, EOS EVM, boom, flawless victory for the audit performed by Sentnl. So that was very cool to hear. We also talked about AI, Sentnl working on implementing AI to check EOS.io code for vulnerabilities. There's been some progress made. Charles has some doubts though on how good this can become, but they've got some human resources working on it for a couple of months at least. So we'll be hearing more about that, I hope, in the future. So real quickly here, I am just going to show the Sentnl website. If you're looking for blockchain security audits, these guys are one of the top players in the industry. So reach out to them. You can see supported chains, EOS.io, Ethereum, and a couple others as well. Very cool. And then some of their latest tweets here showing created a Solidity AI vulnerability scanner that plugs into your GitHub CI/CD. So some of the AI tools that these guys are working on, you can chat with the official EOS network docs using AI at chat.sentnl.io, chat EOS docs, very cool. And then, yeah, so that kind of covers it for the Sentnl audits. Another big launch this week that the community's been very excited about, HyphaDAO, getting ready to share their biggest announcement yet. The waitlist for the Organization in the Box DAO Technology Beta Program is live. So if you want to apply to be a beta tester for these HyphaDAO tools, you can do that right now. So you can browse to this article, and the first link here allows you to register your interest. So EOS Nation, we actually registered our interest for this. We can't wait to see what kind of tools are involved with this toolbox and how we'll be able to use these tools ourselves, perhaps internally for our work from home engagement program, and be able to better connect with our own internal team. And who knows how these tools are going to be, also used in public, etc. So I know we're not the only ones to have put our names up on that wait list. And yeah, so very exciting news. Things are moving along nicely, it seems, and I can't wait to get my hands on these new DAO tools. All right, and March 2023 Yield Plus report. I'm a bit late on reporting on this. It came out a few weeks ago, but last week was such a packed episode of the Hot Sauce. I couldn't get to the March yield report. But of course, as always, what I like to do here is I like to share a couple of my favorite charts in there. So here, one of these charts, entropy trended upwards, reflecting increasing diversification in dApps. And the next chart here, always of big interest, the TVL to market cap ratio, very important. This month, actually, it stayed neutral, it stayed even for the month. But if we look at the not year to date, but conception to date from the very start of the Yield Plus program, we can see that this ratio has been trending nicely upwards, starting at around 0.14, 0.15, and currently at almost 0.25, 24. So you can see a nice trend here, and then in the last month kind of flattens out. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to change over the next month. And then finally, the total factor, which measures the overall performance metric, held reflecting stability from the fundamental growth of the program. All right. And finally, our last story of the day, EOS Invaders is live. Very cool project built by SOV, the guys over at SOV. Here I've got a little clip of kind of what it looks like these days. I was talking to Gavin just earlier, just before the show. Seems like he deployed some updates this morning that should make the game experience more enjoyable and smoother for everyone. So very cool. In case you haven't heard about this, kind of a real-time strategy / turn-based strategy game where it's a persistent world. So your base and your guys, they live whether you're in front of your screen or not, things are going on. And each item you see here, each building, character, etc., is an NFT on the EOS chain. And when you destroy an enemy's base, that NFT gets sold in automated market makers, and then you collect the revenue from destroying that piece of equipment. So there is real money at play here. You can, everything, runs on the SOV token. So you need some SOV tokens to play, but actually there's a interface that kind of abstracts that away from the users, and you can play directly with EOS, where in the back end, it goes on these swap pools and trade your EOS for SOV as you need to build your base, attack others, etc. There's a bunch of people actually that started playing in the last few days. Gavin was on the fireside as well, talking more about his experience. And yeah, very cool project. I know they've been working on it for a little bit. There are only 3 guys working on this, but seems like there's been a lot done for a team that size. So very cool. EOSinvaders.com if you want to check it out. Shout out to Gavin and the team at SOV for creating some nice GameFi, which really, you got economics, you got NFTs, you got automated market makers, strategy. I mean, it puts a ton of cool concepts into one game. There's factions and clans, you got allies and enemies and different races and all the good stuff you'd expect from a nice real-time strategy game. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And until next time, let's keep it spicy.